participants right now, 80 audience members, which is awesome. We love to see our partners want to get further educated on Rentcheck and what you can do with it, especially when we have a new release like the one we're covering today, as well as an announcement about a release that will be coming very, very soon.
We already had one question, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it, but Alexa asked why Jack is so awesome. Um,
That's a really nice question to ask. Alexa is a member of our team. She is our designer. And Alexa, I really appreciate that. I would ask the same of you in return because everything we're covering today was, designed by you for it to be straightforward and helpful to our property manager users. So, I would send that question right back to you. But I'm going to go ahead and get started. I obviously have introduced myself once so far since we started the webinar, but my name is Jack. I am Rentcheck's customer experience manager. I do the majority of our onboarding calls and a lot of just general, customer engagement. We love to work with our customers as Rentcheck grows and changes. And so these webinars are a perfect way for us to get involved with you directly and show you exactly what you can do with new tools and features we've built based on feedback we've received from you. Today, we're going to be covering how automations can be integrated, for lack of a better word, into your process in Rentcheck with your existing software integrations or your data entry methods. So to go over a quick agenda, we're of course going to cover a little introduction to our automation tool and our general integration setups. We'll also talk about how to set up a move-in and move-out automation, and I'll walk through each step of setting up not only a move-in automation, but a move-out automation. And we'll talk a little bit about use cases outside of move-in and move-out inspections. And like I mentioned before, we're also going to have a quick Q&A so that if you have any questions about best practices, general setup, or anything related to automations or integrations, we can talk about it. And we do have some audience members who may not be Rentcheck users. They may be seeing Rentcheck for the very first time. Rentcheck is a digital inspection platform that is intended to make renting fair and transparent for all parties. And the intention is to not only, create lines of communication between renters and property managers, but also to save you time and save you money on inspections so you can get more inspections done and so that you can get detailed inspections done. Of course, we have a mobile app and a website. We'll be taking a look at the website during our walkthrough, but I wanted to show the mobile app as well because this is where the inspections are completed when you're assigned an inspection or when a renter receives one and goes to complete it. So, Rentcheck Automations, it's a brand new tool that we released a couple of weeks ago, but we wanted to let people feel it out, play around with it before we jumped into explaining all the different ways you can use it. Currently, the automation tool is going to work off of move in and move out date triggers. This is going to create an inspection based on those triggers. And the inspections will be set up and assigned at 10:30 a.m. the day those triggers are met. And you'll see on the right-hand side, we have an example move in and move out, where a move in inspection is set up to automatically be sent a week before someone's move in date with a due date 12 days after the creation of the inspection. And it'll be assigned to the future residents because that will be an inspection that would need to go to the people that are moving in next rather than the people that currently live at the unit. Or if there's no current renters, of course, it would be the future resident who's set up as a future move-in. And this tool right now, we wanted to start with the move-in and move-out date triggers first so that everyone could get a feel for it. And we could kind of see, what our users could come up with using the move-in and move-out date triggers to automate different types of inspections. And so right now, you'll have two built into your account if you are a professional plan user. And this tool is going to work in tandem with your integrations and your data entry methods. So whether you're using our Rent Manager, our AppFolio, or coming very, very soon, our Rentvine integrations and other integrations in the pipeline, or even just our CSV upload tool, you'll be able to update resident information to get this automation rolling and make sure that no inspections fall through the cracks and that everything gets sent out automatically so you have one less step when you're moving someone in or moving someone out. And so, speaking of integrations, we have AppFolio, Rent Manager, and Rentvine. Rentvine is going to be coming very soon, like I mentioned. We'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the walkthrough. But currently, these automations, or excuse me, integrations, are two-way data syncs. They transfer unit, building, and resident data, and these update automatically every 24 hours around 9 a.m. Central Time. So, with an automation, as resident information updates, as you'll see on the left for our AppFolio integration, when things like move-out date are changed or move-in date is scheduled with the lease start date, the automation will use this information to create the move in or move out inspections for you. On the flip side of this, with our data uploads through the imports hub, this is something that we released towards the end of the year that allows the uploader to basically walk you through the steps to get data plugged in automatically or immediately. And the uploader will allow you to create new renter entries. So when you need to schedule that new move in, it'll have that move in date ready to go even before they even have physically moved in. You can also use the uploader to update existing entries. So if someone is posting notice and you need to update their information and you don't have an integration with Rentcheck yet, the uploader will allow you to update their entry in Rentcheck as a resident to feed information to the automation to then set up a move out inspection for them to receive and complete without you having to go in and set it up manually. And something to note with our uploads that we always recommend is setting up a cadence for doing these uploads for your resident information specifically so that when you need to update, let's say, a handful of information or even just one person, you have a set day or time of each month that you're uploading this file to get everything up to date. That could be the first, the middle, the end of the month, whatever makes the most sense for your process and your team. But we do recommend establishing a set cadence so that you have the information constantly updated with just a few clicks from your property management software, then uploading to Rentcheck. And so, big question is why automate? Of course, this is a pretty straightforward answer, but this is going to save you time because you won't have to worry about going and setting up an inspection after moving somebody into AppFolio or Buildium or Rentvine or any of the other property management softwares our partners use. You'll be able to standardize your process where it'll be set on a cadence where after somebody's moved in your property management software, once the move in or move out date triggers are met, the inspection will just get sent out without having to set it up at a different time each time you go and move someone in. It'll be set up so that when a certain amount of time, let's say 7 days before a move in is met, an inspection is sent out to that recipient. This is also a way to make sure you never miss any vital inspections like a move in or a move out. This can be a big pain point if something were to have been missed. So you'll be able to have this set up with peace of mind, knowing that your inspections are being delivered not only to your team or to your renters to complete them. And of course, this is all going to save you a little bit more time that you can focus on the things that need your attention the most in rent checks, such as, reviewing inspections or comparing them to each other. This is going to just take one more step out of the process, like I mentioned before. And also, if you're not currently on the professional plan, you can just trial it for 2 weeks, no strings attached, to try out all the different things included in our professional plan, which is not limited to automation. There are a few other tools available, as well as all of our integrations and customization. And so with that, I'm going to head over to Rentcheck to set up a move in and a move out automation. And so I'm here in the automations page, which you can access by going to account, which is stored at the top right of your Rentcheck screen. It's in that blue bubble with your initials. And then once you're on the account page, you'll head to inspection automation. And by default, these are turned off so that things are not getting automatically created before you're ready for them to get set up. And so first we're going to go into our move-in. When you click on the little block there, you're able to start editing this. And so you start with the name of the automation. In this case, I'm going to rename this to a resident move-in because I'm going to set up a move-in inspection automation that will go out to the resident to complete. After I select the title, I then have the option to change what properties are included in the automation. So that could be, in this case, every unit, or I can utilize our different options to limit or kind of filter for particular units, whether that's based on teams or just by going and selecting units from our checklist. And if you are wanting to kind of try out the automation before you set it up for all units, you're able to use this to basically test it out by picking a handful of units and then seeing, what you think will work best for your process with automation added to it by trying this out on a few different properties. But for this move-in, because we want to make sure we get a move-in inspection on every property, I'm going to select all units. And then after we select the property rules, we then have the automation rules. And so you can select any inspection template. We, of course, are working with our resident move-in. So I'm going to select the resident move-in inspection. And then I have the inspection creation rules. So based on our move-in date trigger, I can set this to occur however many days or weeks before the move-in date, as well as setting it to however many days or weeks after the move-in date. And so if you are required to complete a move-in inspection or the renter is required to complete a move-in inspection in a certain amount of time after moving into a unit, you could set this to happen the day that they move in, or in this case, let's say you need to give them notice in advance, you could set it to 3 days before the move-in date so that it's top of mind when they physically are moving in. Because when you're changing apartments or homes, it can be a little chaotic if you're moving boxes, getting things ready to go, and you've got pets and kids, and you're trying to make sure that you have everything ready to go for your new home. For the renter side of this, at least, it's helpful to time this within like 7 or 3 or 4 days of the physical move-in date. And then for my automation we're setting up right now, I'm going to set the due date to be a week after the inspection is created because I want to give the renter time to document everything, but I also want to make sure that they're getting this done within a certain amount of time after moving in. This can be used strategically if you've got certain requirements from city, state, or local government. And this is something that can, of course, be customized the same way. We have the days before or after move-in date. You could set this to however many days you want to give the renter or the team member who's completing this inspection set for the due date. Then we've got our assignment option here at the bottom. By default, this move-in one was set up for residents to go to the future residents, but you can actually change who's going to be assigned as well. Residents, of course, for a resident move-in will be what we would pick, but we do have 3 other options for the automations, which will be familiar to you. We have teammates, which allows you to pick a specific person or group of people from the team. Entire team, which will make it available to any member of your Rentcheck team to go and work on. And then manually assign, which would allow you to enter an email or group of emails. This could be a vendor or someone who is not on your Rentcheck team or someone that's external to your company. One thing I want to note is that using manually assign will change the inspection to an external inspection the way the resident inspections are with the review process built in. But like I mentioned, since this is our resident move-in automation that I'm setting up, I'm going to set this to future residents because I want whoever is new moving into a unit to receive this inspection to complete. And our residence option is dynamic. And what that means is if something changes, if information is updated, the residence option will always ensure that it has the latest information either from your data uploads or your property management software. And this is something to take note of even on your regular inspection creation because the residence option will ensure recurring inspections, for example, are always assigned to whoever is current or future based on what you select. But now that I've set up my automation, when I hit save, I'm going to lock it in and I can turn it on. And moving forward, if a resident were to meet their move-in date were to meet this trigger of 3 days before their actual physical move-in, an inspection would be sent out to the future residents at that unit, and they would have 7 days after the inspection's created to get it done. And if for whatever reason the trigger fails, we send an email with an error list to show you what caused the error. And also, when these are set up, they'll be generated and added to your inspections list, like I said before, at around 10:30 a.m. Central Time. But for our move out inspection example, I wanted to go in and set up an internal inspection. So for our move out, I'm going to leave it as move out. But when we go in to our units, it might make sense to select different units if there are certain units that get a team move out inspection. So there's a case where you need particular units assigned for an internal move out. I could select these 3. And then I could select my move out inspection. And since this is an internal inspection, I'm actually going to set this to fast track as well, because you have the ability to fast track your automated inspections, same way you do on your regular inspection creation tool. And then for this internal move out that I'm setting up to automate, I'm going to set this to generate 30 days before the move out date, and then have it set to be due 30 days after the inspection is created, because if this is an internal inspection, you might need to schedule with the renter and figure out when a good time would be between the day they post notice and the day they actually move out. And then for our assignment, since this is going to be an internal inspection, I'm going to go to teammates, and I'm going to select my own email there, because I'm going to be the one going to do this inspection with the renters once I schedule a time to go out to do the walk with them. And then easy as that, you turn it on, and these are both eligible to create inspections now when these triggers are met. These triggers are not editable currently, but we do have plans to support different use cases in the future. And with these two different trigger options, the move in or move out option, you do have a lot of freedom and ways to do this creatively to set up automations for other types of inspections. And so heading back over to our webinar slides, I'm about to launch a quick poll for all of you so that we can talk about which of some of our common use cases in Rentcheck would suit the automation with move in and move out date triggers. And so I'm about to launch this poll, and while we are running the poll for a few minutes, Carol, do you have any questions for me right now?
I sure do. We've got some in the chat here. So Mindy is a stack. She uses AppFolio.
Mhm.
She said this feature is currently blocked. How do we unlock this?
So Mindy, it may be because you're not on the Rentcheck professional plan. That's something that we could talk about one-on-one so that we can discuss different options for Rentcheck. You can also trial this if you select uh, it should have some sparkles on it when you go to click on the automations. It'll allow you to try out the professional plan without going in and committing just yet. So you can totally trial it, as well as set up some time to talk about it with me or with another member of our team, talk about different options for the plans. I see we're getting a lot of responses in the poll. And while this is a poll, there are a couple of best answers here that we'll talk about once we end the poll. But Carol, do you have any other questions for me?
I do. Job said, do we need to manually add residents to Rentcheck, or is there a plan to integrate it with Buildium to automatically pull current, past, and future tenants?
Great question. We are still planning to integrate with Buildium in the future. Currently, though, you can use our upload tool to process CSV exports from Buildium of your renters, and that could be a process that you do to upload just current renters, or you could use it to upload not only current but future renters, and also to update current ones that have moved out to.
Rosie said, are we able to automate move-in inspections to be done by the property manager the same way?
Yes. So with the automations, I believe when I did my move out example, that might have answered the question. But with the automations, you can select teammates to assign to particular members of the team, so property managers on your team, or you can use entire team to create a list of inspections that are available to anyone on the team rather than picking a particular recipient or group of recipients. And I'm gonna,
Oh,
oh,
sorry.
sorry.
Nicolette asks, is there a buffer between the time the automation runs and the inspections are created? And then I have like three more questions after that.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to let the poll run for another couple of minutes, so everybody has 5 minutes to answer. But to answer Nicolette's question about the buffer between the time the automation runs and the inspections are created, when the automation runs, the inspections will be created if they are able to be created successfully. So the buffer would only really occur if there was an error that would run, and then the inspection would not have been created automatically. So there is not technically like a review period to go in and check it. But that being said, with your integrations, or if you're uploading data regularly, Rentcheck will have everything it needs to send out these inspections if it's got an updated move-in or move-out date.
Thank you, Jack.
Yep.
We had some questions. Yes, this is being recorded and we can share it out afterward. Shawnee says, if I have already scheduled move-in inspections with future residents, when I turn on the automation, will it duplicate the inspection and notify them twice?
Great question, Shawnee. So for the automation, if you've already sent out a move-in inspection to them and the move-in date is in the past, if you have the automation set up for inspections being sent before a move-in date trigger, then nothing would be duplicated. But you may see that come up if you were to set up a move-in trigger to happen after the move-in date. So what that would mean is if you set up an inspection, a move-in inspection to go out, let's say 6 days or 7 days after a move-in date, you've already set up a move-in. If that trigger were to be met after you've already set up a move-in and you're sending this to like current renters rather than sending it in the future, like in my example, that would be the only time that it would duplicate, and that's not a popular use case with our move-in inspections typically.
Wendy in the chat asks, do we need to be in professional plan to be able to access this feature?
Yes, you do need to have the professional plan. You can trial it, like I mentioned, for 2 weeks, no questions asked. And if you decide not to move forward with the professional plan, you can always just let us know and we can downgrade your plan so that you do not convert to the professional plan if you're not ready to sign up for that. And if you do have any questions about the professional plan, we are always happy to answer those in our support chat, or if you want to book time with me as a current customer, we can also set up some time to discuss options.
Another question in the Q&A box says, can you use automation to create recurring inspections?
So, great question. That is not something that is currently supported because with the automations, it's creating one inspection at a time. So, for your recurring inspections for right now, you'll still need to go into the inspections tab and set them up to recur with our set recurrence tool, the way you normally set up your inspections. And so, what you'll want to think about the move in and move out date trigger automations as is an option for setting up important inspections that happen at a specific time during a lease, whether that's beginning, end, or if you have a creative workaround for a different inspection that you want to automate. Those are going to be inspections that happen one time during the lease, whereas your inspections that recur will be ones that you'll still want to set up and set up the schedule that you want with the cadence that you'd select. So if you wanted to do a periodic that happens quarterly, you'd still want to go into the inspections tab.
And one final question, Jack. Will changes to move in or move out dates that occur just before an automation runs reflect in Rentcheck?
Great question. So going back to we can actually go back to our integration slide. All of our integrations run the automatic data sync at 9 a.m. and the automation runs at 10:30 a.m. and this is all central time. So there'll be an hour and a half sort of buffer. If anything was updated, like let's say the day before, the night before at 9 a.m., that information will appear in Rentcheck. But if something were updated in, let's say, AppFolio or Rent Manager or Rentvine, and this was done between 9 a.m. and 10:30, that would not immediately reflect in Rentcheck. That being said, if you use data uploads or if you want to just go in and update the information on the resident tab, you can.
We had one more question from Ruben in the chat.
Yeah.
Can these move in and move out inspections be edited for our purposes, saved as a different inspection type, and still use the automation feature? Instead of selecting multiple properties from the dropdown, is there a way to upload sets of properties to inspect?
Great question, Ruben. So to answer, I'm going to answer your second one first. That is something that we're working on with our upload tool, where you'll be able to upload a report of units to receive a certain type of inspection. And that would be separate from the automations. But the point of your first question, having different automations saved is possible. Having different kinds of automation saved, they don't just have to be move in or move out. They are reliant on the triggers still, though. But like I mentioned, in the future, we will be supporting different use cases based on feedback from our users and also what we develop in our product team. All right, and so Carol, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. We had some really great questions, so I wanted to make sure to take some time to cover all those. But we received a lot of responses, and so The number one answer, which is one of, I would say, the best answers, is lease renewals. So going back to our question, which of the following inspection types would best suit an automation built with move-in and move-out date triggers? Lease renewals is far and away the best answer and the one with the highest um, response rate. Some other ones that were answered that are really great too are pre-move outs or mid-lease quick condition checks. And we can cover how to set up a lease renewal as well as a mid-lease quick condition check along with the two automations I just built. So I'm going to head back over to Rentcheck really quickly. And so we have our resident move in and move out that I set up, but I'm going to change my move in to our quick condition check. And this is something that would happen, let's say 6 months in. So we have our days and weeks options. So I'm going to select weeks instead of days here. And I'm also going to update this to after the move-in date. And in this case, what we're going to do is put 26 weeks. So if it's a mid-lease quick condition check, this will happen 6 months into the lease. They'll have 14 days after the inspection is created to get it done. And I'm going to set this to current residents. Because if we're sending this to renters who have been living in a unit for 6 months, we'll want to select current because at that point they will have changed from future to current in your property management system. Additionally, I'm going to go and update the name. And now this is a quick condition check automation based on a move-in date trigger. And so what would happen 26 weeks, excuse me, after the move-in date or 6 months, the renter would receive an inspection to complete a quick condition check, which is a new template that we deployed in the last couple of months that focuses on damages and repairs that have not been reported, or also, of course, to show that the unit is being well taken care of by the renter. And then to set up our lease renewal, I'm going to go ahead and change my move out automation to a lease renewal one. I'm going to keep the same logic of specific units, but I'm only going to select these two for now. And when we go to select our inspection, I'm going to change this to my lease renewal inspection template, which is one I built with our customization tool. I'm going to turn off the fast track because this is actually going to become a renter inspection. And so for a lease renewal, this might be something you send 30 days before move out. If you want to send this to anyone that potentially could renew their lease in certain states or cities or counties, you might have different requirements for posting a renewal request as a renter. So we can go ahead and say 60 days before the move out date, a renewal inspection will be generated. And we'll say that it'll be due 60 days, or rather, we'll do 14 days, we'll get 2 weeks. And then for the assignment, I'm going to also select current renters. And with a renewal, let's say if someone posts notice before this is set up, then this would not get generated for that renter. And additionally, if it does get set up and then they decide not to renew, you can always cancel the inspection.
I have two questions in
Yeah.
the chat. Okay, so Shawnee says, when I create the inspection, if I put 0 days before move-in, will it automate the inspection on the day of move-in?
So that would happen the day of move-in.
Okay. And she also asks, can we set up more than 2 automation templates?
Great question. We are planning to support additional use cases in the future, but we can always discuss enabling additional ones if you are curious about adding more. So that's something we can have a one-on-one conversation about, Shawnee. So if there is a good time for us to get together, I can send you an email after this to schedule some time to discuss automation specifically for your company.
And Jack, we do have a bunch more questions coming in. Do you want me to hold these till the end or should I read them through?
We do have a couple more slides I just wanted to cover before we open it up to the full Q&A. I did actually like that we went through some questions in the middle though. So there will probably be some more questions about this. So I did just want to touch on the fact that we have the Rentvine integration coming out tonight. The release is scheduled for today. This is going to work the same way our AppFolio and Rent Manager integrations currently work, where it's a two-way data sync, daily automatic updates to your unit, building, and resident data from Rentvine, and inspections will auto sync back to Rentvine. And when you request this or set this up, the Rentcheck team will make sure all the units are connected and synced with Rentvine so that there aren't duplicates or any additional ones created so that everything is matched up perfectly. For this first release, it'll just be the two-way data sync, but next month we'll be supporting work order creation as well, the same way we do with our AppFolio work order creation and Rent Manager service issue sync. So you'll be able to utilize a full Rentvine integration as soon as tomorrow once the release is live. And we'll have specific instructions on how to set that up if you are a current Rentvine user. And if you would like more information, you can always chat in on Rentcheck itself. And so we're going to jump back into questions. But if you are not currently a Rentcheck user and you're interested in seeing Rentcheck in action, you can scan the QR code on the left so that you can schedule time with a property inspection expert or review our demo. So I'm going to open things back up to the Q&A, and we'll have one more poll just for general feedback about different kinds of automations that you'll want to see. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on that poll. This will be, a place to basically submit your feedback and requests. And we will send this all over to our product team, and they'll be able to review all this to look into, what our users would like to see us build next in terms of automations. But Carol, if you want to hand the floor over to the Q&A again, I'm happy to start answering more questions.
I'd love to. So in the chat, Ruben asks, what did you say happens when you select manually assign?
So manually assign is the tool for assigning inspections to someone who is not quite a renter, or they're not a property manager on your team. This is the case where you'd send it to a vendor or someone that you work with who does not need to have direct access to the Rentcheck team. So manually assign is going to create sort of an external inspection experience where when they submit it, you have to review the inspection the same way you do with renter inspections. And so, Ruben, that's something that you're already working with. I know with the different vendors that work with your company. So this is something that you're already utilizing with the different vendor inspections that you get back.
Kirsten asks, if you edit automation from move-in to lease renewal, does that void all the automated move-in inspections you already have set up?
So it won't void any inspections or delete any inspections. Currently, we don't have an automation for that, but that is something that we've heard in the past. And it's a great piece of feedback to be able to have certain automations run where, if renters change, if certain triggers are met, groups of inspections that are scheduled will be removed. But currently, the automation will not override or remove any inspections that are currently scheduled in the account.
Rosie asks, what is the difference on doing it through move-in automation instead of doing it as a periodic inspection and automating to be done semi-annually?
So the difference is that with the automation, the inspection will get set up for you. You won't have to go to the inspections tab and create an inspection. With the automation, it will set up the inspection and send it out to whoever should receive it. The difference with a case where you're setting up an inspection to recur is that that is a manual process where you're indicating how many times you want the inspection to repeat based on our different recurrence options. The automation is more focused on setting up inspections that happen at a specific time based on the move in and move out date triggers.
Thank you, Jack. Mindy says mid-lease QCC is perfect. Can you set this to repeat every year at the mid-lease timeframe?
So currently the automations do not have an option to set them to repeat or recur. But that is something that I think is really great feedback for us and is something that we can take into consideration for future changes to the automation tool. But currently, if you were to set this up, this would happen 6 months in on that specific lease on 6 months after their move-in date. But it would not repeat automatically.
In the Q&A box here, we have a question from Andy. He asks, can we schedule a move-in, move-out, and mid-lease automation all at once, or only 2 automated at a time?
So currently it is limited to 2. But we do have plans to support more in the future. And like I mentioned, when Shawnee asked before about adding additional automations, that is something that we can talk about. Those will be limited to move in and move out date triggers, though, at
So
least for right now.
so sorry, Jack.
Oh, no,
Um,
you're good.
Someone asked who will receive the update, sorry, who will receive update notifications for inspections created via automation?
Great question. So within your permission groups in Rentcheck, if the user is added to the permission group with the automation enabled for them, they will receive the update email. So if that, in terms of like errors, if anything were to happen with the inspections, if they were not generated because there was a piece of data missing, or if there was another error that occurred with inspection creation, all of those users would receive an update. And then for the inspection notifications, this would apply the same. And if it was assigned to a teammate, they would get the, of course, like reminders and the prompts to complete the inspection with the residents. They'll also receive the same typical auto reminders and invite that they get when you send them an inspection.
Kristen asks, can an automated link sent to vendors to take pictures of the repair? I'm sorry. Sorry, Jack. Can an automated link be sent to vendors to take pictures of the repair coordinated with AppFolio?
So that is something that in the future we could look into supporting, having like triggers from AppFolio based on work orders, like to set up, let's say, a maintenance check. But currently, it would have to be tied to the move in or move out date trigger. But in the future, that could be something that we do support because we do have, all kinds of different ways to access data through our AppFolio integration. And the AppFolio team is always looking to expand different ways for their software to interact with others.
We have a question in the chat. If periodic inspections have been scheduled out for 2 years, do they automatically cancel after the tenant moves out?
So no, currently, if you have a periodic inspection scheduled for the next 2 years, they would not be automatically canceled if someone moves out. If you're using the residence assignment option, though, this will actually pivot. So let's say if Carol lived in the unit for a year and then she moved out and I moved in, but you still had those inspections scheduled assigned to current residents, I would get the new or the next iteration of that periodic inspection. And it might make sense to change some of the due dates or delete them and reissue them. But with our residence option, you can have certain recurring inspections repeat and assign to whoever is the current person at the time the inspection is expected to be completed so that you don't have to worry about canceling things, but you may end up changing due dates or something like that. But at present, there is no automatic cancellation of inspections once tenants change or residents change, rather.
Another question just came in. Um, if hearing correctly, there's not a way to currently send quarterly air filter check inspections automatically. Will this be an added feature?
So currently, no, it is not supported with the automation. You could get creative, but these will not repeat quarterly. So that is something that we definitely want to support in the future. We have an air filter check inspection template now that is something we added to make sure that you had not only your standard inspections as well as our maintenance check, but the air filter check is also available as well directly in Rentcheck without having to create a maintenance check for air filters. So that is something that we would definitely want to support in the future. And if you were to set them to repeat quarterly with our regular creation tool, that's something that's going to need to get done probably every 3 months, regardless of who lives in a unit. So you could set it to repeat quarterly, assigned to the current residence option, and Rentcheck would assign the inspection to whoever should receive it at the time it's being sent out. These are really great questions, by the way.
I think that's all the questions. Oh, another one. Oh no. Yeah.
We were going to wait around for a few minutes, Shawnee. We scheduled for an hour in case there were any questions about anything even a little bit related to automation. So feel free to send any questions in. We'll be here for the next 16 minutes. And so any questions that you have, please put them in the chat, put them in the Q&A, and we will walk through anything and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, these are really great questions. I'm getting a lot of ideas for content too from these questions. So thank you guys.
Yeah, and I see that Nicolette asked if we plan to support other automation use cases natively. We do plan to do that in the future, but with this first round of automation tools, we wanted to make sure that we were providing a tool that would fit your needs in terms of move in and move outs, because we know that is a big pain point when scheduling inspections out, because it's one less step in your process and you save a little bit of time on each move in, and that adds up in a year if there's turnover, if especially if you work in maybe student housing property management, there's turnover usually 2 times a year. And so this is really helpful with making sure that the people who need to do their move in or move out inspection are able to just do it without you having to go in and set up anything besides entering information to your property management software or into Rentcheck. But we do plan to support other use cases with different types of triggers.
Shawnee just asked in the chat, when I do an inspection, should they automatically sync to AppFolio? I noticed if I manually do the inspection or my team, I have to click the sync button.
So with the integration, this is definitely not off topic, Shawnee. With the integration, the automatic inspection syncs happen at 6 and 6 every day. It's on a 12-hour timetable, so this will happen automatically. And so if you do want them to go over to AppFolio immediately, you can use the sync button, but this is something that occurs on a set timeline so that we can push over all the inspections at once. And so that is something that we've added the manual sync button for in cases where you do need to send it right over to the unit or resident information in AppFolio.
Rosie asks, oh, Shawnee just said, good to know. I did not know that. Makes sense. Now I will no longer manually click it unless I need it right then and there. Thank you.
If it's no trouble to click it, I say go for it. But if it is like something that's adding to your process, then if you let it go through the typical integration sync, it'll just show up before you even realize it hadn't synced yet.
Rosie says, I know you had told me that in the future we'd be able to schedule periodic inspections for a team member and have the notifications go to them instead of me as the creator. Any idea when that will be available?
So that's going to be available very soon. This is something that we are planning to support with our changes to inspection messaging with some customization tools. And so that is something that you will be able to make changes to. I know that we have been working hard on it, and progress has been a little bit faster than we expected. So this is something that should be available in the next few weeks, or I believe in the next month or two.
And Ruben asks, what is the ETA for the upload tool going live, or is it live already?
We do not have an ETA for that, but that is something that we can get to you, Ruben, because I can speak with Lucy, our head of product, and talk about when that will be available this year. Any other questions? If it's just a general rent check question, we can also walk through it. I see that Kim just sent a question in, Carol.
She said if I enter a custom inspection date in AppFolio on the property page because we did an in-person inspection, will a new Rentcheck inspection date be automatically updated in AppFolio?
So if you were, and I want to make sure I'm understanding the question, if you were to enter a custom inspection date in AppFolio, because you did an inspection like outside of any virtual or digital tools, the rent check inspection date would, so like when rent check inspections are completed, it updates the AppFolio last inspection completed date. So if you were to do an inspection outside of either rent check or AppFolio, and then add that date, if the next rent check inspection would override that date because it would be the most recent inspection completed. And so in that case, if the inspection was, if no inspection was completed after that in rent check, and you had the AppFolio integration, then nothing would change on the inspection date on AppFolio in the inspections tab.
One other thing, Jack, if
Yeah.
people are already customers and they want to try the professional plan to see these features, what was the special that you were offering?
So the professional plan is available to trial for 2 weeks. So you can use it for 14 days, try out customization if you haven't tried customization yet, automations, and some other tools that are available in the system. And customization includes creating different types of inspections, as well as taking what we've already built and making edits to it. And so you're able to upgrade directly in Rentcheck by clicking on one of those professional features, and it'll prompt you to do a trial.
And the same goes for if you're not a customer yet and you want to try it out, we can start you off with a free 2-week trial for professional as well. You would just fill out the
Correct.
form on that landing page. And Rosie asks, does it matter what type of inspection was held to update the last inspection date to AppFolio?
So no, it does not matter what type of inspection, Rosie. It will update the last inspection date in AppFolio regardless.
Andy asks, does a team member have to have certain permissions, standard or subscription plan editor, or certain role, like manager or admin, for him to be able to edit their inspections they completed after they submitted?
Great question. So Andy, if another member of the team submitted an inspection and it was assigned with the teammates option or entire team, you'll be able to go in on the website and make edits or reopen the inspection in the mobile app. By accessing the inspection in the mobile app and selecting manage, the editing on the website is accessible after clicking on a particular section or feature. So if you click on, let's say, front door, and you want to edit something on the front door, the edit option will appear on the left-hand side. This is specific to internal inspections, though. So inspections assigned with teammates, entire team, or myself. Any other questions?
Rosie's
Yeah,
got
go for it, Rosie. Yeah, I think we saw that at the exact same time, Carol.
it. I love these
And I
questions.
same. And I see that we've got a decent amount of responses for just general feedback for automation. So I'm gonna end that poll. And thank you so much for all your feedback. I can't review it just yet directly in Zoom. So once the webinar is over, we'll be able to go in and review all of your feedback. And if we are able to develop any of this in the next year, we'll let you know as soon as we start working on it or as soon as we have a release date.
So Wendy asks for the automations, once integrated to Rentvine, will it use the move-in dates in Rentvine or will it use the dates set up on the resident tab?
Great question. So Wendy, with the Rentvine integration, with the residents, we'll update the resident list so that it pulls the residents directly from Rentvine, and so that they are basically updating based on what's in Rentvine rather than what's on the residents tab in Rentcheck. Because with our other integrations like Rent Manager and AppFolio, we keep the residents in that tab, and they're directly connected from AppFolio or Rent Manager, and that updates with the integration sync. So it's essentially a mirror of what's in your property management software. So once the automation or excuse me, once the integration is live and the automations are turned on, it will show up in Rentcheck with the residents. But once the sync happens, the information is updated. So let's say in a week when you have a new move in and you have the integration turned on and the automation turned on, once that information comes over from AppFolio on the day, let's say a move in trigger is met, the inspection will get sent out to the recipient. And that'll be based on the information directly from Rentvine.
Wendy says, perfect, thank you. Rosie's got a question. She said, if I schedule an inspection for a team member, I will get the notification, but the team member will still see the completed inspection, correct? So the only thing the team member is missing is the notification?
Correct. And if you're assigning with the teammates option, they'll get notifications the same way our renters do, where they get an invite and then reminders. So the teammate assigned to complete an inspection they complete it themselves, they will see the completed inspection, and anyone in Rentcheck that has permissions to view certain inspection types, which most users have all inspections enabled for their views, they are able to look at any inspections that have been completed in the account in general. So across all the different users in your team in Rentcheck.
We had another question come in through the Q&A box. It says, how do I sign up for the 2-week trial for professional?
If you're a current customer in Rentcheck, if you go to automation or to customization in the account page, so I can show you really quick. My account has the professional plan, but if we go over here, so sorry, I had a couple different tabs that were coming up over this button, but if we go to account and then let's say inspection automation or inspection templates, if you come here and there's an option with, it'll basically be a glittery create button. If you click that, or I believe it actually says get started, it'll prompt you to start your trial. And also, if you are having any trouble getting to the prompt to upgrade to the trial, our team can also assist with that. And if you're not a current customer, like Carol said, you can use the QR code here or the link in the chat that she sent a few times to sign up for the trial as well. And you'll also be able to view our demo, or if you are looking to schedule time with a property inspection expert, you'll also have an option for that.
We had a question from Day. It says, I might have missed it, but does the inspection get recorded in AppFolio after approved in Rentcheck?
Yes. So the way the integrations work, when an inspection is submitted, if it's a renter inspection, it's in awaiting review. If the inspection is in awaiting review at the time the next inspection sync runs, the inspection will send over to AppFolio as awaiting review and it'll be labeled that way. And then once you approve the inspection, or if you send it for revisions and it comes back and it's in a different status, such as revision review, or you get the revisions and you approve it, the new version of the inspection will sync over to AppFolio as an updated copy of the file. And yeah, no problem, Rosie. I just saw your message saying thanks. All right, we have 3 more minutes. If anybody has any questions, we've had some really great questions. Anything that's related to automation, integrations, we're happy to talk about. And we're looking forward to seeing y'all take this tool and save a bunch of time.
We had a question pop up in the Q&A box from Suzanne. It says, it then has 2 copies in AppFolio or replaces one with the newest?
So it will have both versions in AppFolio. So you'll have both there.
Thank you. Wendy asks, where in Rentvine will that get uploaded?
So Wendy, that'll be attached to the property and the resident. I can get the actual field name for you as well. I don't have it off the top of my head, unfortunately, but I will make sure to go and grab that and send it to you. Additionally, when our announcement email goes out, it will have that information included, explaining how the integration will work. And we'll send out like a full article, basically explaining the functions of it, along with the instructions for setting it up. And yes, we did make a note, Shawnee. I just saw her message. All right, well, if you have any other questions, we have about 2 more minutes left. I really appreciate everybody joining us today. I know that the automation tools have been a big wish list item for a lot of users, especially if you have regular turnover with move in and move outs. So this is going to be, I think, a really helpful tool for all of you. And if you have any questions while you're working on setting these up, or if you're just curious about trialing, you can reach out to our team on Rentcheck directly by clicking the blue bubble at the bottom right. And when you click this, it'll open not only our help center, but a prompt to start a chat with us. And then if you aren't currently a Rentcheck user, you can use the link or scan the QR code to get set up with a demo or a trial.
Thank you all so much for coming. Really appreciate it.
All right, it looks like we don't have any more questions, at least for right now. So if questions come to you when you're setting things up, I always say on my onboarding calls that the questions come when you're actually working in Rentcheck. So go to set up your automation, you have a question, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We would love to walk you through anything or just advise on the best way to get everything plugged in and set up for your company. Yeah, thank you so much, y'all. Have a good rest.